Connor's Degrassi Unpopular Opinions. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter, and welcome you to another Degrassi Unpopular Opinion. And this one is about one of the kind of controversial principles in Degrassi history. In fact, he is my worst Degrassi principal of all time. He is the SHep, who used to be the Lakehurst principal before it burned down. And then he never joined Degrassi, and then he was made to be principal of Degrassi after Miss Hatzalakos leaves for Regina and leaves Peter to be emancipated. Well, Peter gets an apartment that his dad pays for, but Peter lives all by himself. The simple fact is that the SHep had a controversial effort in season 8. The way things are is that the SHep actually ended up being principal, but he seemed to always have a soft spot for the people from Lakehurst who were jocks and cheerleaders and all that stuff. He didn't like loners and all that. He didn't like the gifted class. He didn't really like people like Sav, who was at Lakehurst, but then all of a sudden, that Principal SHep had a soft spot for Holly J. Because, Holly J was popular. She was the queen bee at Lakehurst, kind of like what her sister was at Degrassi, and gave Holly J the student council presidency without a vote. Sav was pissed off. Sav got to be the number 2 guy to just basically shut Sav up. And of course, his fight with the gifted class. I know he got mad at Connor's issues and all that, and just basically expelled him, saying that, he's not worth it. But after Claire learns about Connor's Asperger's syndrome thing, Claire finally decides to, get involved and try to get SHep to admit expelling Connor was a bad move. And, SHep gets a lot of trouble. Now, of course, this is not the episode that is about this unpopular opinion. I guess I can say that. The SHep becomes principal of the year, and I already talked about it in a Degrassi Unpopular Opinion about why SHep was given principal of the year, even though that, he didn't deserve it. He just started up a few sports and all that. He coached the teams, which is like, what the hell? You're the principal. You're not supposed to be coaching any teams. That's kind of a conflict of interest. And then all of a effing sudden, you got something weird. And the weirdness is that, Claire, the gifted class, are told to do the Principal of the Year video and all that. But unfortunately, Claire wants to talk to SHep about Connor's problems, and he calls her a stupid bitch and all that. Of course, then there comes the Principal of the Year award, and the SHep's comments come back to bite him in the butt. Everyone walks out on him. He goes to sensitivity training. He comes back, but he doesn't completely change in his way. But then, of course, you got yourself the biggest question is, why was SHep there? And in season 9, Hatzalakos comes back, mostly because Peter has his meth addiction, and Hatzalakos takes care of him. And then she decides to become principal of Degrassi. And then the SHep is gone. Like, we don't know what happened to the SHep and all that. So Hatzalakos becomes principal for season 9, and then season 10, it's The Simpsons for the taking. So the question on my mind is, and this is my post I did a while ago, it says, what contributed to SHep being fired from Degrassi in season 8 and us getting Hatzalakos back in season 9? I said, there are a few theories, but one theory I didn't get into until I watched Degrassi Goes Hollywood was that with Jay managing to finagle the Degrassi school bus and taking Manny, Emma, and the studs to California for Manny to get her job back at that Paige stole, acting job that Paige stole, and the fact of the studs being underage, don't know the whole scope. I feel that SHep's stupidity in allowing Jay to do so was the last straw for the school board, and even though Peter's meth angle wrapped up too quickly, it allowed us to see Hatzalakos come back to Toronto, take care of her son, and to get the job of top cheese in Degrassi back, although she wasn't the best fit, aka being a dick with Ali's topless photo scenario. So, I just was like, well, how did SHep get fired and all that? It's like, what I got is basically his sexist attitudes were too much in school, were decided to get rid of them, even though that they send them sensitivity training. But like when look at Degrassi Goes Hollywood and the fact that SHep allows Jay to get the Degrassi school bus to California, is like, what the hell? So anyway, well, Rachel, I know, made a comment on this. Stockproof says hot sauce doesn't have an expiration date. Ha ha, funny. So anyway, Emergency Elephant said, I always theorized that the writers intended for the SHep to come back after his suspension, but the actor behind the SHep wanted to leave the show. I think the SHep was intended to be the coach that groomed Casey, but when the actor left the show, the writers wrote in Coach Carson and all that. Emergency Elephant's reasoning was that Coach Carson came in right as the SHep was leaving. There was one episode in between. The SHep was interested in the school sports, so him coaching Niners basketball wouldn't be out of the question. The SHep was sexist, and a lot of the grooming behaviors Carson utilized were sexist in nature. The SHep was creepy and never amounted to anything. The SHep looks like Coach Carson even. And Mrs. H did not do much as principal during season 9. The only thing she does is scold Riley for being homophobic and scold Ellie for the nudes. For Riley, it's painted as the LGBT club having an issue with Riley, and not the school administration. Riley doesn't really get into trouble. And for Ellie, Hatzlack'll scold her for doing something very illegal by sending her nudes. Wouldn't it make sense for the sexist principal to be involved? Well, one person said it was his comments to Claire regarding Connor. It says, but that incident only got him in sensitivity training. Then he came back for the rest of season 8, and then he's got him no explanation. And someone says, could it be feasible he got that so he was allowed to finish the year out, or maybe they sent him back as a test, didn't like his performance? And said the writers decided to write him off. One person even said, Hatzlack'os took a leave of absence to care for a moment's schedule at the end of season 7. In most public schools, as principal, your job gets held for you indefinitely if you take a leave of absence. SHep was acting principal, and then when Hatzlack'os came back in season 9 to take care of Peter, she was able to return to her old job, and SHep's acting role would cease. But of course, the biggest issue is, what about her mom? What about Hatzlack'os' mom in Regina? Yeah, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, took a leave of absence. Hatzlack'os didn't seem that she was going to take a leave of absence. She just basically said she's going to go to Regina to deal with her mom. She doesn't say anything about taking a leave of absence and then coming back to Toronto whenever possible. She just said she's going to Regina, and that's when Peter wanted to be emancipated. So I like that idea, but it just puzzles me. It's like the leave of absence. I didn't get that vibe when I watched the season 7 finale. So anyway, as always, Rachel Violetta has done it again. She's commented on it, and here's what she said. I know the SHep coming back and after being sent away for sensitivity training after getting caught on video calling Claire a bitch and making comments about Connor. I thought it was strange he came back at all, since it's hard to actually fire a principal. He was so out of bounds and on tape and had enough students and teachers that hated him and would testify in front of the school board that didn't want him back. He would be transferred, basically. But you can't be an effective principal in a school where not only the students but the actual staff knows how terrible you are and wants you gone. Since one misstep will send someone running to file complaints until you're gone. No one can work in that situation. Few people want to. I remember when he came back from sensitivity, he was basically what you would expect someone to be when they come that close to losing their job entirely. He didn't voice opinions, he didn't step on people's toes, and he basically agreed with everyone and contributed nothing. I assumed he would ask for a transfer or have one assigned to him eventually, because principals in cities don't stay forever. And she goes on to say about her husband being a teacher in New York City, and every few years they get a new principal. I guess trying to help other schools out. So in a way, it was hard. And SHep didn't really contribute much after he was taken back. I mean, he tried to make steps in the right direction to help people out and to try to atone for his crimes, but the simple fact is he didn't do enough in people's eyes. And I get it. I really do. The simple fact is that, okay, maybe he asked to be transferred, or he probably thought he didn't belong. But I mean, you know, we never got that explanation. The simple fact is that Hazel Eccles didn't have to come back in season 9. I don't think she would have come back in season 9 if it wasn't for Peter's meth problem and all that. Or maybe, she's happy that her mom's happy in Regina and gets help, and then, she can go back to Toronto to be with Peter. But it's like, how did SHep get canned and all that? Because, I read the Degrassi Goes Hollywood thing on the Degrassi Wiki, and it said that, Jay managed to get SHep to give him the keys to the school bus so that he could go to Hollywood to help Manny get her job back after it was taken away thanks to Mick's anger towards her. And then all of it freaking sudden, Paige ends up getting the role because she somehow impressed people, even though that she was trying to get it for her boss, because, she was an assistant to a reality star. And then, the whole thing about Manny being upset and wanting her job back. She didn't want to hurt Paige, I think. She just wanted her job back. And Jay, trying to be the good boyfriend he is, wants to help Manny out. I mean, I would have loved for Manny to realize, wait a minute, Jay was part of why, Jimmy got shot. Because, Jay was the one who convinced Spinner to say all the bad stuff about Jimmy that saw Rick have the gun and shoot Jimmy. Although they didn't know Rick would have had a gun or revenge. It would have been awkward to see Rick shooting like Spinner and Jay. I mean, people probably might not have wanted Jay to stay around. Maybe they would be happy if Jay got shot. I, for one, hate Jay in a sense, but, I have a little bit of sympathy for him dying by a gun. But that's not the point. The point is about the SHep. And with the SHep, I feel that, he got a raw deal. Yeah, he probably wanted to leave the show, but, it should have been explained what happened to the SHep and why he was canned. All that. Why Hathalakos came back in season 9. Despite the fact, Peter needed her help to deal with things in Toronto, by being by himself and having that small meth addiction. But yeah, I just wanted to know if the whole thing with Claire and Connor was the catalyst, and I think the school board finally decided to get rid of him once Hathalakos came back. Hathalakos was a good principal. And then the SHep comes in. But I guess maybe Hathalakos had to leave absence and the SHep was acting principal. But I would have loved to see someone say, oh, well, SHep is just temporary because Hathalakos, if she wants her job back, will get it easily. Wish Nate said that. But you can't always get what you want. Anyway, I'm jumped